when did you know you were good?
In cycling, I says when I became world champion. As I was in the sprint and sprinting, my foot came out on my pedal and I flew over the handlebars and landed on my head. I think I'm just grooving the life that I did have before my crash.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Getting Back Up with me, Anthony Ogogo. And today's episode, I talk to a Paralympic legend, a young man called George Peasgood. George Peasgood is a two-time Paralympian, being the youngest member of the GB Paralympic team for Rio 2016. And in Rio 2020, obviously competed in 2021 because of COVID. George Peasgood won 2 medals in 2 days in 2 different sports. This man is an absolute beast. George goes into detail about suffering a horrible accident at the hands of a lawnmower. As a 2-year-old, that left his leg mangled, in his own words. And not just that, he suffered another massive amount of adversity at the back end of 2022 when he was out on his bicycle training to defend his world championship in cycling. George came off his bike, landed on his head, and almost died. He literally is a miracle man, walking and talking. He goes into detail about the setbacks and the suffering and being in a coma for 7 weeks. This is a truly inspiring conversation with a wonderful, wonderful man. And listen to the end. Listen to what George tells me he's going to do. Powerful conversation you can listen to right now. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, enjoy this one. Let's get stuck in. I'm unbelievably honoured, privileged to have you on the podcast today, George. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, my man. So this is the Getting Back Up podcast, and I talk to people with inspiring stories, people that have done great things in both their life and or career, but only after suffering or amid suffering massive setback and adversity. And listen, you're somebody that knows a thing or two about setback and adversity, and I just want to go there, mate, and talk about your life and times. And your story is unbelievable, and I want everyone to be inspired by that, because when I came across your story, mate, goodness me, I'm gonna get goosebumps in this podcast many times. Like, I can feel it already. So yeah, man.
Oh, dear, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I'm gonna ask you lots of questions today. Lots of questions. And, I don't know where this conversation is going to go. I've done a lot of research on you the last few days. As I mentioned, all the goosebumps, I've had the tingles along the way. I've looked into your life in career so much, and it's going to be special. I haven't really planned out where this conversation is going to go. You're a very charismatic young man. I know this is going to kind of, I just want to be led by you and your story and see what happens. But we'll ask you lots of questions. But the most important question I'm going to ask you, and please answer honestly, how the bloody hell are you, mate?
not too bad, but I've been a lot worse, but I've been so much better. Like, I've been a hell of a lot better. If I was describing it to a mate, I would be swearing so much right now. But yeah, I've been so much better, but I'm not as bad as I have been, 6 months ago.
What's going on? How come you're, because when I've listened to you talk, I've heard your interviews, I've read your stuff, and you seem so bubbly, and you seem so positive all the time. And we're going to talk about this because I've heard you say a few things. I want to kind of deep dive into that. But what's going on? Why are you not feeling that great at the moment? Is it about the accident? Is it about life in general?
It's more about life in general at the moment, and it's I think I'm just grooving the life that I did have before my crash. Because my life was bloody fantastic, to be honest. I got 2 medals at the Paralympics. I was 2-time world champion on time trial and cycling. I was all ready to go basically, and it's just obviously at the moment it just feels like nothing in comparison, nowhere near. and a lot of stuff in my personal life as well.
Goosebumps number one. But my arms are tingling already. Goosebumps number one here and there, because as I said, you are. So for those that don't know, George Peasgood, like, who are you and why are we talking today?
Good question. Why are we talking today? Not basically, I'm a Paralympic triathlete. I competed in Rio and Tokyo for triathlon. But also in Tokyo I qualified for cycling, time trial and road race. So I did do 2 sports in Tokyo. In Rio I came, I think it was
Seventh.
seventh.
Yep. But also you were there. And a lot of my guests do this, George. Like, I talk to people and they throw away massive achievements. They say, "Oh yeah, I was whatever." Like, seventh at the at the Paralympic Games is a huge achievement for anybody. But also, you were the youngest person. You were the youngest person on the Paralympic team in Rio. So you were a baby and you're still placing at the Paralympic Games. So here at the Getting Back Up podcast, we don't throw away accolades. We build up
Okay,
accolades
sorry.
because these are moments in people's lives, and they'll last a lifetime. So anyway, please continue.
Sorry. I'm a Paralympian because when I was 2.5 years old, I was run over by a rider on a lawnmower. So my left leg and ankle has been mangled up, basically. They managed to save my left leg and ankle somehow. And I think it was close to 20 operations growing up. And the most significant, or the most recent rather, was a leg lengthening operation where they made my leg almost 5 centimeters longer.
How old are you when that happened?
I had the operation when I was 13. And then, it's like a 9-month period, and they grew my leg longer by 47 mil. But they made it too long, so it's now longer than my good leg. So my bad leg is my longer leg, and to show how much my leg was growing small, like less, not as much as my right leg. My left foot is a size 8, and my right foot, my normal foot, is a size 12, 12.5.
Oh, goodness. And
So my leg was going to be that much smaller.
Goodness.
So it's not as bad as it could have been. So I was going to say I was doing triathlon and cycling purely because of my lower leg impairment.
So there's and I say major capital MAJORRRR with an exclamation mark at the end. 2 major pieces of adversity you've gone through in your life. The lawnmower accident as a kid, young, healthy lad. I've read stories, handsome, charismatic, just jubilant, running around doing our kid stuff, and you have a horrible life-changing accident happen to you as a pretty much a baby. And then last year, the big one. Well, that's not to say the one when you were 2.5 wasn't big. Then the big one. We're gonna dive into both of those circumstances because, I mean, it's so heart-wrenchingly cruel, the things that you've been through. And of course, we are going to focus also on the successes, because you've lived a life that most people dream of. Representing your country, winning medals around the world, becoming a world champion. I mean, people don't get the chance to do that, So don't get me wrong, this isn't a doom and gloom story. There's loads of happiness in this podcast, in your story. So you won this. We're going to come back to the successes, but let the listeners, the watchers, can understand the second piece of adversity you went through, the crash last October. Give us a rundown of what actually happened there.
So I was out cycling and training with my ex-girlfriend. I was training for the track cycling world championships. So I was doing a session, and just at the end of the session, 120 meters from my parents' house, where I was going to plan to finish the session, like a road I've ridden down hundreds of times on my bike. My peak power of the ride didn't seem that high, it was 900 something watts, and like getting 1,000 watts for me would be a piece of cake. So I think I just did another sprint just because I wanted to get over 1,000 watts. And then as I was in the sprint and sprinting, my foot came on my pedal, and I flew over the handlebars and landed on my head a bit too hard.
Oof. So essentially, you wanted to basically finish strong, get your peak power up. You saw the finish line with your parents' house, and a freak accident happened. Your foot came out of the pedal, and you went over the handlebars, landed on your head.
Basically, yeah. And then I was straight in a coma for 49 days. So, like, I was trying to do 1,000 watts because I love round numbers, but I was in a coma for 49 days, not 50, 49. So that's even more frustrating.
How cruel! How
I
cruel
know.
must the gods may be? And also the peak power. You wanted 1,000, 1,000 watts.
Yeah.
You got nine something, right? So
961 when I was sprinting, but the peak power of the whole ride was 963 watts. So I was 2 watts higher, like on the whole of the ride, than when I crashed. So I wasn't in the best sprint of the ride. So it was basically pointless.
this podcast is all about, and I don't know where you are on your journey, and we're gonna dive deep into this and see where you are at the moment. I like to talk to people that the worst thing to happen to them, like somehow turned out to be the best thing to happen to them. Now, at the very beginning, you said, things aren't great because you're remembering, you're comparing your life from where you are now and there. So maybe you're not quite there yet. Maybe we'll do another one again in the future. Why did this happen? Like this accident that you went through, and we're going to talk more about it because I know you skimmed it, and it's way, way, way deeper than that. Do you think there's a reason why it happened?
Possibly just because I'm so, what's the word? It sounds bad saying it, but I'm so anal. Like, I love round numbers, and like to do 1,000 watts for me would be a piece of cake before my accident. So it's just because I wanted to get over 1,000 watts. It's only, yeah, it's because I'm very particular. Like,
And driven,
yeah,
determined.
yeah.
You could have slacked it off and stuck with that. But then again, that having that, that mindset that you have wanting to get 1,000 watts, that's the reason why you succeeded in your life and have always succeeded. And that's the reason why you've won medals and competed for your country, because you have that thing that most people don't have.
But that's also the reason why the day before I left hospital, I awarded 5K unaided around the ward. 50 laps because my physio in hospital told me 1 lap was 100 meters. So I told him I was going to walk 50 laps for 5K before I left hospital. It may have taken me all that day. It took me 6 hours and 3 minutes. And guess what? I was not there till more than 6 hours. As soon as I saw the 3 minutes, I was like, for God's sake. Turned like a bit sped walk for the last couple of laps.
Okay, so you've got to do and listen, I'm obviously not a therapist. I've done this podcast now for a few months and I've talked to people, and the reason why I created this podcast, George, is because I was a successful boxer and very similar to yourself. I had very similar success, world champion, Olympic medalist. I've done a lot in my life, and from one punch, my life changed. Now, very similar to you, but ultimately, like one incident, one punch. I've been punched tens of thousands of times in my life. One punch hit me in the eye as a freak punch, and now I'm basically blind in my left eye, and I was forced to retire. Then my life has gone down a different avenue than the life I thought I should have or thought I deserved to have. So very similar to you, actually. Although, listen, I'm not comparing my stuff to yours. I'm not doing that. But ultimately, you were doing what you love to do. A random freak thing happened, and now your life is very different. With the accident, I presume you don't remember anything what happened. I read that they sent a helicopter to take it to hospital, but the doctor said no because the brain injury, that the pressure could have made much worse.
I think it's basically the pressure of the altitude difference of the helicopter, and then also getting into the helicopter and getting out of the helicopter would have been more unstable. So it'll be a lot easier and simpler to just driving my car. Because I was by the time, like, because I crashed, thankfully next to the field, but yeah, I think the field was quite muddy. They'd have to walk really carefully with me, and the pressure difference, and it wasn't worth like an extra couple of 9 minutes by that time. Like, going my car would only be probably a handful of seconds slower than going by helicopter.
What's the first thing you remember waking up? You said you're in a coma for 49 days. And the big thing that I've read and that I want to talk about is well documented that 90% of people that suffer what you suffered and go into that coma, they don't wake up. No, 90% that happens to them and they're gone. Most people wake up, and if you're after the 6 weeks, you don't wake up. You wake up on the 7th week. You cheated death in many aspects. You were an anomaly again in your life. What's the reason? I mean, like, what do you think that reason is? Why did you survive and most don't? Do you think there's a reason? Have you thought about that? Do think there's a reason, or you just you don't know or don't care, essentially?
Basically, I'm not too sure, but the reason, one of the things when I think about it a bit too much is I think I was misdiagnosed from my crash. I don't think what really happened. Or I think the doctors somehow, well, no. Yeah, I think the doctors misinterpreted my scan results, but they are what they are.
What do you mean?
Unlike this.
In positively or negatively? In what respect do they
So I think they are basically, if I think about it too much, I just think about the Dodgers must have misunderstood my brain scans. I made it like seem like a much worse brain accident or brain injury than it actually was. Because how the hell am I still here? How the hell am I doing so well?
I mean, listen, again, I'm not a doctor or a therapist, but it's like the scans are the scans, right? It's almost like you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, basically, yeah.
I think,
But like, it's just because I'm so baffled by myself. I'm just saying, well, it can't be the way they're saying, so they must be wrong. But like, the scans are the scans. Like, there's evidence. Like, my brain was pretty hit hard, basically. Like, it's there on paper, and you can see it. Like, the injury was the injury. Like, is it broken or not broken? It was broken in terms of like a bone and an X-ray. Like, it's that clear to see. So what's that damage?
it was exactly what
Yeah.
they said. You just have the superhuman strength, and you're able to survive it, and come through,
Somehow.
and
But God knows how. Yeah.
mentality, attitude. I think people listening to this in the last 15 minutes already, like that. I think they can hear like the kind of person you are, how driven you are, how determined you are. Have you always been that way?
Yes. So growing up, Dodgers, well, I think they were saying I wouldn't be able to play after the leg length operation in 2009 when I was 13, 14. They said I wouldn't be able to play rugby again, and I was playing within 9 months for my school. So I was just like very driven to prove them wrong. So I was like, you say it's not possible, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to do it. And then, yeah, I was running 5Ks. I think I ran a 10K actually. But yeah, just like, I'm just trying to have fun. And when someone sets a limitation, and like, the only reason I see that I like the answer to that limitation being myself, I'm just like, watch me, I'm going to do it.
Watch me. Nice.
Yeah.
Watch me. I'll prove you wrong. I like that. I think you're right. I think nobody, no, even if it's like backed up with like medicine, like nobody has the ability to put a ceiling on somebody else's head. Nobody, and it's the ones that go, no, okay, I thank you for your opinion, but I'm going to go do this instead. Watch me. I think every winner, like everyone who's successful in life, has that thing about them where they say, no, okay, watch me do this. Just watch me do this, and you have that in spades, mate. One of the reasons why when I saw your story on Instagram randomly one day. I was scrolling through and I saw your story and I saw this beautiful video where you walk in and you walk and you had, I mean, it was the first time you obviously had to learn to walk again. To learn to walk, like, let's emphasize how bad this crash was. This crash kills 9 out of 10. Well, it's a miracle that you're here, basically. It's a miracle that you're here. Like you said, the scans are the scans, the report are the reports, and you overcome everyone's expectations. And I saw this video, and where you walk in, then the video you walking around hospital unaided, 50 laps unaided. I mean, you didn't do it in less than 6 hours, but you tried your best. And it's just so powerful. I'm watching the videos of you in hospital and you're lying there, obviously in your coma, and to seeing you now, mate. I mean, we've spoken for 20 minutes. I didn't know you before this conversation, but unbelievably proud of you to getting where you are now. And it's only a year on. It's only a year, what, 14, 15 months from the accident? And it's just unbelievable. And also on top of that, let's talk about some good things, right? Because I do want to kind of go, your story is intermixed with amazing things, sad things, happy things, unbelievably unfair things. And we're going to kind of talk about it all. But yesterday, you had some amazing news. What was the good news yesterday?
I did. I had a driving assessment, and I've been given the all clear to drive again.
Woo! Get in there. Which I think, obviously, the accident, you had seizures after, and you can take your license taken away.
So basically, when you have a seizure, you can't drive. I think it's for a year. From whenever your last seizure was, you can't drive. So I couldn't drive. I was relying on my friends, my family, taxis to get places. But now I have been given the all clear to drive.
When I retired from boxing, my last fight, I was 27 years old, and I had no idea I was going to walk to the ring at 27 years old, and that'd be my last boxing match I've done in my entire life. And then when I get asked to do podcasts or asked one of my guests, people often ask me, what would you tell your younger self? And the thing I always say, and it's always the same, and I really wish I'd done this, I wish I'd have enjoyed the little wins along the way. And it's ones when, the analogy I give is when you climb Everest. Never done it, but I've read books, people that have done it. When you climb Everest, people are so determined to get to the top, but the view from the top is a bit shit. You're so high up, you can't really see anything. And those that get the best experience from it, and this is indicative of life, in my opinion, those that get the best experience from climbing Everest, it's not really a race. This doesn't matter what time you get to the destination. I had this thing in my head where I wanted to become world champion 3 years after turning pro, which is silly. I mean, ultimately, no one cares about the dates. It cares about the story and the journey and getting there in the end. And it's those ones that enjoy. They walk a little bit, they stop, they look around, they're taking a beautiful view. It's those ones that have the greatest experience. So the reason why I'm saying this little story is because, getting your driving license in the getting it back in the grand scheme of life is a little thing. But what a massive win that is. I mean, you must feel like you're getting so much of your own ability, the freedom. You got freedom back.
Yeah,
you got your
so much more independence
back. And wow, that's the most. So honestly, mate, I did a woo when I saw on your Instagram yesterday, and I celebrated. I did a woo I was in the room by myself. Did a woo. I thought, what a lunatic! He's wooing to himself. But I was so happy for you, mate. A little bit of independence back, and you're getting there. You're getting slowly back to the person that you were. And I know you felt sad earlier, and for the things going on in your life, and you have every reason to. But if I've got any advice for you, if you're a little bit older than you, really celebrate these wins and really hold on to these wins. And I think everyone listening to this at home should hold on to the little wins, because the little wins in 5-10 years' time, they're not so little after all, Wow, mate. So let's go back to the beginning. The lawnmower incident. How does one get run over by a lawnmower?
Good question. I believe I'm being told I was playing outside. I ran towards the lawnmower, which is being used to cut the grass, and my foot just slipped and I went underneath. And my shoelace got caught in the blade and jammed my foot under.
2.5 years old. Was somebody driving it? Was it one of the
Yeah.
somebody driving it? Goodness, they must have felt terrible. Also,
Yeah.
What was life like for you as a kid with, in your own words, a mangled leg? Like, what was it like being a kid at school? Could you play in with the kids? Did you always feel a little bit left out? Like, what was life like having a foot so severely damaged?
I felt quite secluded and put a lot of pressure on myself, but I definitely tried to find motivation to get back, and I just set my expectations really high because I could see all the other kids having fun doing the sport they wanted, so I just tried to do the same thing basically.
Did you feel different to the other kids? I know, you obviously your leg was damaged, but did you feel any different?
So not really. To be honest, not really. My parents were just two normal, quote unquote, normal parents. My dad was a funeral director, and my mum was a private physio. So at least I had the perk of my mum being a physio.
During your naughty, she could, maybe dig her thumbs a little bit extra hard to make. I'll teach you if not going to bed on time. I've listened. Done my research on you, and your parents sound wonderful. What was school like for you? Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy being a kid? Were you one of those ones that wanted to be an adult? Like, what was life like?
Um, yes, everything. Yes, it was pretty good, but I don't think I enjoyed it nearly as much as I should have. But I think that's what every adult would say. They did enjoy their times or make as much of them as they could have. And I know, as a child, you hear adults say that, who um, go do one, shush, shut up, whatever. Yeah, I couldn't would and will swear so much, yeah, just fuck off. Yeah, and but you're tired of hearing it as a child, but it's so worthy.
Yeah, you get to a point in life and you go,
Yeah.
"Oh, I mean, they were white, weren't they? They were white after all,
Yeah.
bugger."
Yeah.
So okay, so sports. So your parents both very sporty. When did you think sport was going to be your thing? I've heard you say in the past that you've never, and I feel the exact same. And there's a lot of similarities between you and I. I have literally never gone to work a day in my life because what I do isn't work. I was a boxer for a long time. Now, as a wrestler, I throw big, sweaty men around in tights. So that's not really work, is it? Now I get to talk to people like yourself. It's not work. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I've never worked a day in my life. I'm very proud of that. And I've heard you say the same thing. So when was it that you thought, sport, this is it. This is where I'm going to live. This is home for me now.
I think in 2014 when I actually moved up to Loughborough. So I live in Loughborough and have since, so 9 years since 2014. And I moved up here after doing my A-levels and I did a part-time degree. And I just moved up here because it was, basically I saw it as the home of triathlon. It's where the national governing body was based. It's where the BDF officers were. And I was doing triathlon, trying to go to Rio. So I was like, right, I'm going to there. I'm going to where the officers are, where it's one of the best places to train for a sport. I was like, I'm going there. So yeah, I was saying it's by 2014 when I actually realised that I could become a sport person.
When did you know you were good? Right, there's always a moment, isn't there? In any athlete's career, they go, "Oh, I could," and I know mine. I know exactly where my moment was. When did you know you were good and you could actually do this and actually make your career and win medals and represent your country?
That was a fantastic question. I'm not too sure. I think it's more the journey in triathlon. But in cycling, I would say it's when I became world champion.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. When did you know you were good at cycling? When I became world champion. That's like, That's fantastic. Wow. So what was it? So what is it about sport? What is it about? Is it the competition that drives you? Is it do you? I was asked a question when I was a kid. I did a assembly, and my headmaster, Mr. Beckenham, lovely man. He's not here anymore, unfortunately. Lovely guy. He said to me, "Are you scared of losing, or do you hate losing? Like, what is it? Like, why do you want to win so much?" I thought that was a great question. And I wasn't scared of losing per se. My answer at the time was I just hated it. I just hated losing. Now, as I've gone a bit older, I thought maybe I was scared of losing. Maybe I was scared of not feeling important. And I think of what I'd done as a kid. I kind of wrapped all my self worth in boxing, and I was good at it. People liked me. I got my name in the newspaper, and I was Anthony Gogo, the boxer, rather than Anthony Gogo. And boxing is what I did with yourself, like why triathlon and why cycling? Why sports where like you've got to cross the finish line first? Like what is it about that drives you?
Um, it's more I would say the battle against yourself. So in cycling, um, my forte was time trial, and you only really find out the results when you get to finish. And the person who started first and finished first could come first, but in finishing order, they'll be at the bottom of the page. So it's more the battle with yourself, or yeah,
You versus you, and I think that's
yeah,
a great life lesson. And I think probably the first time in this podcast where I kind of relate your story to life, because most people aren't going to go to the Paralympics or the Olympics. Most people aren't going to compete against the best in the world, but everyone can learn from everyone. Like there's always someone's. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna say the name. Oh, should I tell the story? I'm gonna tell it. So when I was probably about a teenager. I can't. I'm going to incriminate myself. Basically, there's a bloke in and around my boxing club who was a bit of a pain in the ass and a bit of a no. And he talks so much nonsense. Every once in a while, he'd say some gold, and you had to kind of like sift through this shit to get the gold. And I could have switched off from him. And he said a couple of things to me, which was absolute pure gold, and I hold on to this day. I could have switched off from him when I was young. I thought he's full of crap. I'm not going to listen to him. But then no, like I think everyone's got a lesson to teach people if they're willing to listen. Sometimes it's all gold. Sometimes it's all shit, but you got a bit of gold here and there. And I forgot what point I was going to make. Oh yeah. So the first like life lesson I've taken. I mean, there's loads of what you've said already, but I think life's all about yourself. When you start and the great thing about the cycling and boxing, when you start looking left and right, or I used to swim as a kid as well, that's when you kind of start in boxing. When you start not paying attention on the guy's gloves and his eyes, that's when you get hit. And it's the same thing in life. Like when you start comparing or competing with others, that's when things go wrong. It's all about yourself, isn't it? About you versus you. And that's what life's all about. You versus you, being better than you were yesterday rather than being better than somebody else.
yeah. And like that's a similar thing to like what you said about having a job. Like you never had a job. Like I consider myself the same because I love being being an athlete, and like that's the only reason why I've never had a job, because I love what I do. So I do it all with purpose, and I just try my best because I just to try to keep hold of the thing that I love. And like if anyone has a job that I actually really enjoy, they've not got a job. If they enjoy it like fully and properly, it's not a job. It's only like a job if you don't enjoy it at all. Like I know that obviously days, especially as an athlete, when you feel proper shit or training's not going well, but they're the days where like you got to have the highs to have the lows as well. It was I saw on Instagram the other month, I was reading about someone going to his therapist saying like he wants to just sit in the middle, and his therapist was saying to him, all right, but you got to have the highs and lows because it's like a heartbeat. Like you got to have the peaks to have the troughs. If you're in the middle, you fly alone. You die. So it's all about the highs and the lows.
Man, that's so special. I often Man, but I love these conversations. I love them because obviously, again, number two, tingles, number two, second tingles. Then what you said, and everyone, people, we can say similar things, but in different ways. And what I say today, 100%, that is flatlining, and you can flatline and die at 80, but how much of a life have you lived? Just doing that. And for me, I don't. Obviously, life is measured in days and weeks and months and years, of course. But really, I measure life in those moments when, like, when you're scared and you do it anyway. Those moments when you're on the podium, third, second, or first. Those moments when you lose. Just all those moments, right? And as a boxer, it's moments when you get hit hard and you have a snap decision in your head. Do you take a knee or do you just fight on? Or do you it's. I've done a TV show earlier this year, and I stood at the run down a dam, and I was like a front abseil, and I was petrified. I was petrified, and I looked out, and it was in New Zealand. I was looking out, and I was just mountains and snow-capped mountains everywhere, and I'm looking, and I was like, God, this is terrifying and cool at the same time. And it's those moments that make life worth living, I think. And the ups, and don't get me wrong, I've had some shit times, and similar to yourself, actually. We had a 2-minute chat before you said press record, and I've gone through some stuff similar to you've gone through in my personal life. And it's those down times that made the good times better. And you need that to get that. And I massively agree. Mate, let's talk about Rio on the plane, the youngest Paralympian on the plane going over to Rio de Janeiro. Massive congratulations. You didn't medal there. But what was it like to represent your country and get the team GB tracksuit?
The GB tracksuit it's pretty cool to us. Yeah, I just saw it as like a life lesson. Like, it was just a test run. I didn't expect anything from Rio. It was just like, okay, this is just for like try and enjoy and fully embrace it. Just have fun. It was so nice to get the opportunity, because who the hell else gets to go to a Paralympics just as a test run, where they know, like, they go come back and be better. But obviously, like, I didn't know that, but I wanted it, and I was just like, yeah, I just carved in, seized the day with just trying to take it as a test run. I was just like, fully embrace absolutely everything and anything.
Did anybody teach you that? Because that's very, I mean, you were a kid, you were a teenager at the time. Did anybody, or young man, did anybody tell you to have that mindset, or that's something you had yourself? Because that's quite a mature
And
perspective to have at quite a young age.
I think it was my parents, my brother, and my coach at the time were all just like, just try and enjoy yourself. Like, just really just try and enjoy it, because, like, yeah, you're the youngest British triathlete. Just go and enjoy yourself. Just have fun, because you might not. Who knows? You might get this opportunity again, but you also might not, and you absolutely hate yourself if you don't enjoy it. So do just go and enjoy it.
Mate, I turned pro. Mentioned the enjoy the moments along the way. I turned pro my first fight 2013 in Sheffield. I knocked out Kieran Gray in the second round, and I was boxing in New York later. I was boxing in New York 3 weeks later, and all my friends and family come to visit me and to watch the fight, and they kind of hired like a nightclub. And I was so like driven, so like wanted to become the best. I wanted to become world champion so bad. I didn't allow myself to enjoy that night. I went begrudgingly, and I was like, I didn't want to be there to face on me like thunder. I kind of disrespected the people that kind of spend a lot of money to come and watch me perform. Went back to the hotel, had a bit of a row with my then girlfriend because I just didn't want to be there. And anyway, long story short, 2.5 years later, I had my last pro boxing match, and that first night, that should have been the best night. That should have been the first night in a litany of many amazing nights. Was actually the best night I had as a pro, one of my best performance, and I didn't enjoy it. And that's why I said about enjoying the moments along the way, because you never know. You never know if you can be privileged enough to get these opportunities. And I wasn't. And I think that's really another massive life lesson. Enjoy the moments, even enjoy the hard times, because like the hard times, like you said, are a precursor to good times. Enjoy the tough times, because one day they're going to be a distant memory, and you might feel a bit sad. You might miss him in a strange way. Mate, great bit of advice. To Tokyo, right? You won, and I saw that. I still find it, I can't really kind of fathom this. You won 2 medals at the Paralympics in 2 days in 2 different sports. I mean, that's some bloody that's some good going, right?
It could have been, I don't know, if it was 1 day, 1 sport, 1 medal, this starts called as 2 medals, 2 sports, 2 days. All right, 3 medals, 3 sports, 3 days would be even better.
Yes.
But yeah, pretty good.
But 2 medals, listen, man, not many people have done that, a lot of people. Which one, do they both mean the same to you, or does one mean a little bit more? Talk about that and talk what it felt like to kind of had that medal over your neck. And does everyone always say to you, "Car, it's really heavy, isn't it?" Everyone says it's really heavy, heavier than I thought it was going to be. I always get that one.
Oh yeah, oh that was so good. The triathlon one does mean a little bit more, but only because in the category I race in triathlon, I race in the below knee and below elbow impaired athletes. So obviously, I get against someone with a below elbow impairment. I have a massive advantage on the swim, but then they have a massive advantage on the bike and the run. So, for instance, on the run side of things, my 5K PB is 16:21.
Your 5K?
Yeah.
16:21?
But
yeah, that's shifting, isn't it? Bloody hell.
It's not too bad.
It's not too bad at all.
But then in my category, there's people that can run 13, 14 minutes for 5K.
But don't they have like an arm impairment and their legs are quote unquote okay? I see. So with that one, mate, is it hard? Once we've talked about the your successes in your career, being obviously world champion as well 2 times. I want to talk about unfairness and bitterness and how you've dealt with that, or if you've dealt with that. I want to come on to that in a minute. To start with that, when you're competing against people that and please forgive me if I use the wrong verbiage. I don't want to like put my foot in it. When people are less disabled than you, or like you're more disabled, then is that hard to deal with? Because it's not really fair, is it? When you fight, when you're competing against people that can do more than you, be it obviously when you're competing, but not just that, at training every single day.
It does seem a little unfair at times. Like, how the hell are we racing against each other when I run that much slower than you? Then it's like, how can someone be throwing a ball further than I can? It's just because they've trained harder. Like, we're all humans. Like, it's like Usain Bolt. He was always told that he'll never be a great sprint. He would never be a great sprinter because he was too
tall. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm talking in terms of level playing field. Like, I understand some people are, as a boxer, some boxers punch hard than other boxers. It's just naturally we're built different. I could punch hard, but I was very fast. Speed is my thing. But we all start from the same position. The start line's all the same. With you and what you do, again, I may be wrong, but from the outside looking in, the start line looks different. This person, like you said, this person's got, his leg is damaged. His leg is more damaged. His arm is damaged. It's like, is it? How do you deal with that? Like, there's not, the parity can be question marked. And also, I spoke to a friend of mine, Martin Perry, a former guest on my podcast. He blatantly said that some people just play up to their disability and pretend they're more disabled on the on the days where they're assessed, classification day. They just fake being more disabled, in whatever that means. How do you deal with that?
in terms of the comparison, like of me to other athletes, I just say this. Whereas I think it'll be even cooler if I do better. If I beat them, it's gonna be like even more worthwhile. Because like I think of myself as having a pretty hard upbringing in terms of quote unquote disability. Because I still don't class myself as having a disability, to be honest. Like there are always far more people. There's always someone far worse off than you. So yeah. But in triathlon and cycling, the classification, it does come down to raw numbers. So, like, if that's what the raw numbers say, then that's what I say.
Just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
If you want to be the best, you just got to train hard and get on with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so George, you've had two massive shit things, and I can't even think of them in a more articulate way because they've been fucking shit, mate. Two really shit things happened to you in your life. So unfair. You seem like such a nice guy. Work hard, get on with your life. How have you dealt with the unfairness?
I just thought to myself, well, no one's gonna make it better, so you might as well make it better yourself. Which is like, it's such a cliche or shit or silly thing to say, but no one's gonna do it, so you might as well make it better yourself.
Yeah. So, cliche and simple, but sometimes simple is all it takes. No one's no matter how much you sulk or whinge or complain about it, no one's gonna come and save you. If you wanted a better life, you've got to make the better life yourself. That's really powerful, mate. That's you said so nonchalantly. It's like you said it like it's obvious, but you say that, but like I'll be very honest. I struggled, but when I retired from boxing, when I was forced to retire from boxing, I had damage to my left eye. I really struggled. I was so pissed off. I was bitter. I was so pissed off that thing that really got me was people that weren't as good as me. This is what I would say, and I've had to kind of change now. But what I was saying at the time, back in 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, people that weren't as good as me were going out there and living out my dreams. World champions, multimillionaires, and that used to really break my heart. And people that I've beaten or I'm better than are going and becoming champions numerous times, winning this, getting that accolade. I'm like, and these people got hit more than me. That's the thing for me. Like, they'd get hit more than me. I didn't get hit that much in my career, and yeah, I took the freak punch. I fractured my eye socket in a really, really weird, odd freak punch. And some people have their eyes so bad, big black eyes, that when the swelling goes down, their vision's okay. But mine was damaged and I got misdiagnosed, all this different stuff. And I struggled, mate. And like you said a minute ago, like you said, no one's gonna come and no one came to save me. No one made it better for me. Nobody kind of then, there's your vision back. Take the punch away. It took me a long time, way longer than I care to admit, before I had to realize, listen, if I want a better life, I've got to make my better life. I've got to create it. How long did it take you to figure that out? Or have you always been of that mindset?
It's definitely since my second injury where it's like felt like it's been more in play. So after like growing up with my leg impairment, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make this the best life I can because no one's gonna do it for you. And now it's like, no, I have to really make the best life I can because no one's gonna fucking do this shit for you. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie to you, probably medication does help. So I've struggled with anxiety and depression, and I'm now on medication for that. I'm not embarrassed by it, but it does help. But I think that's part of the reason why I'm such a good athlete, because I'm just so hard on myself all the time. But that's probably one of the massive reasons why I'm or was a world champion in itself. Because I'm just trying to be better than myself all the time.
You shouldn't be embarrassed either, mate. I think it takes an unbelievably strong man, strong person, man, woman, whatever, to say, yeah, I struggle, I find things hard, and to seek that help, that is strength, mate. That's strength right there. So no, you shouldn't be embarrassed. I'm glad you don't feel embarrassed. You're able to talk about it because, mate, that how you are still here. Don't get me wrong. Another reason why I was really interested in your story as well. So my mum suffered brain aneurysm, so a brain injury. So I'm sure you spent a long time at Addenbrooke's. I know you spent at Addenbrooke's as well, and the doctors there were amazing. They literally saved her life. I've been in appointments with her since her injury, where doctors said it's a miracle you're still alive. And obviously, a lot of doctors, they're scientists. They do science, and they don't like to say like things like miracle. And I've been there, and it's a miracle because her injury was so bad she shouldn't have been here. And we've known people since that had much less severe brain aneurysms that she's had, and we're gone like that. So I often say to my mum, I wonder why the reason, why did she survive? And she's great, and don't get me wrong, she's got her stuff, but a miracle how she's able to do. She's super nan, looks after all the grandkids, does it. She's amazing, right? And I always say to her, I wonder why she was allowed to live when others don't. And I don't know if it's it's something you've thought about, or maybe you're not quite
Definitely,
there,
yeah.
right? Yeah, so what do you think the reason is? Why? Because if it was obviously when you suffer something what you suffered, in millimeter to the left, to the right, the millimeter coming down, so many things should have meant the end there and then on that day. Do you think there's a deeper meaning why you survived? Or are you still kind of on the pursuit to find the reason why you survived?
I'm not too sure, but then the millimeters to the other side, I could have been absolutely fine and just broken my collarbones. So yes, I could have died, but I could have just broken my shoulder and collarbones. And that'd be that'd be it. But again, it's the highs and the lows that make you the person you are. And that's what it's super shit at times because times can get really tough, pretty fucking tough. But it's just what you do to deal with the times.
What are those sometimes? I saw you do. I saw you said. I saw you said in the podcast I listened to when I was researching. You said people come and see you. Oh, George, you're doing really great. You're smiling. You're doing this, but you'd say there were some dark times, some really really dark times in hospital. What were some of those dark times? What does a dark time look like for you? What was it?
A lot of them I don't actually fully remember, but I think it was based around the time where I was waking up from the coma because I thought it was all a dream. I literally thought that everything I was in was a dream. To try and prove to myself that I was in a dream, I tried timing a minute. Guess how many seconds are in a minute? 60. But guess how many times I timed a minute to see how many seconds there were? Handful, probably 5 or 6 times. I timed a minute, going 1, 2, 3. Why are there 60 seconds in a minute? What the fuck is wrong? Why am I timing a minute? Of course this is a dream. How the hell could this happen to me and how could I be alive? It must be a dream. But that was the sort of mindset I was in because it all just seemed far too bonkers for me. And yeah, how do you wake up from, if you're having a bad dream or a nightmare, how do you wake up from the dream? Generally, a question, how do you wake up from a dream?
Get woken up by somebody?
Or you die.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. And then of course. Do you feel like you're living in a nightmare now? Or do you feel like do you still feel like you're in the nightmare?
Sometimes when I get into a quote unquote what side calls a pickle, I do sometimes feel like I'm in a nightmare because I'm just being no, this isn't real. This must be a dream because it just feels a bit too absurd and a bit too like a book as such. How the hell could I be doing this? Or how the hell could I have almost died by making this sort of recovery? There's no way in hell this is real. And that's where I get really messed up and I get into a rut. Yeah, sorry, what was the question?
Because I mean, I've forgotten. I'm so transfixed on your words. What are the biggest differences? Two questions. What's your memory like? How much can you remember now? And how much can you remember before? And what is the biggest difference from George, October, September of last year to George now?
My memory is improving, but for instance, I couldn't remember the question we were just speaking about.
But mate,
But then,
I'll do that honestly. Like I do that. I forget things as well, mate. I often and the listeners who listen to this regularly can testify. I'll ask people a question. My brain, which is riddled with ADHD, I'll go off on a tangent. I'll come back and I'll forget the question that I asked. So don't feel too sad about that, mate. Honestly, we're probably in the same place, and I haven't had a big accident to put mine down to.
at least I've got a perfect excuse for bad memory.
You should got an excuse. I've got no excuse. What do you remember we did last week? Do you remember do you remember you had for breakfast this morning? Like what kind of things would you forget? Or do you remember like the you were as a kid, or do you just kind of remember from what things have said?
I basically see my memory as pretty much the same as before, but memory is a really interesting thing because there's a podcast recently, I think it was on Diary of a CEO, and it was with someone who was talking about memory. And my mate sent it to me, and they just showed that there's studies out there that I think show that trying to test yourself and test your memory actually is shown to improve your memory. So I'm just trying to test myself all the time by saying, oh no, what did I have for breakfast? What did I have for dinner? And then just like testing myself.
Yeah, I do that a little bit actually. Who sings that song? Rather than Googling it or getting Shazam out, I want to think who sings that song. Who is it? Who is it? Never get it right, but like, I don't give up straight away.
Yeah, it's all about just testing yourself, and again, it's just you versus you.
You versus you, being better than you were the day before, the week before, the month before. Biggest differences between pre crash George and George today that I'm talking to.
I'm no longer current world champion.
Interesting. You go straight to the sport. Not yet, anyway.
Very true. Not yet. I've so much knowledge and understanding now about neuroscience because it's honestly bonkers. My mind has been blown far too many times. Like I go and spend most Mondays or every a few weeks, every so often up at my Hampson, and their physios and staff there just literally blow my mind.
I've got a little section about them, man. I want to talk about them in a moment, actually. We'll segue into it right now, actually. But before we do, the interesting thing is when I asked you what's the difference, you said one thing, a very athlete thing to say, I'm not world champion anymore, I couldn't defend my title. And the second thing is like, you actually, it was a good thing. You know more about the brain now than you were before. It wasn't like, oh, I missed out. Like you're talking about the good things. I thought you were going to say, oh, I can't do this now, or I miss doing that. But no, it's actually, it's a positive thing.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like at the moment I can drive because I did my assessment yesterday, so I can't say I can't drive anymore. But yeah, I can't run 16:21 for 5K at the moment.
At the moment. But mate, like you say that, but look, I've seen the video. I hope people on here come and follow you on Instagram, and we'll do the plug at the end, and I can see your journey because I've seen the videos, mate, where you can barely, you're in a coma for 7 weeks, lost all that muscle mass, your body was messed up, you got the mangled leg from the accident as a kid, and I've seen you walking down the corridor of the hospital with the porters and the nurses holding you up. They're doing it by yourself. That's growth. That's mate. You can't run that time just yet, but goodness me, mate, don't forget how far you've come.
Yeah, I lost like 20 kilos of muscle mass.
Oh, what did you weigh before?
I weighed, I think it was 77, 78 kilos. But my body, my muscle mass was my body fat percentage was scarily low. Like I'm talking like single figures low, like less than 8%. Like, and I went down to, I think, a hospital, and my lowest I was well under 60
Oh,
kilos. I was 57, 58 kilos,
how tall are you?
6'3".
Goodness, big lad. Goodness me, yeah. I thought that because you just never know how tall somebody is from pictures and stuff, and but you seem tall and got the long legs and the long range. Man, let's talk about. So you went to the rehab. You would that you I forgot the name now. It's the
Matt Hampson Centre.
yes, and he was a center. He was a rugby player, and he went paralyzed in a scrum as a young man.
Yeah. Yeah. He was an England under 23 and a England, a
Lion, yeah.
Lions player.
Mm.
Yeah. And used to play for Leicester Tigers as well. And yeah, he was a hooker and the scrum collapsed and he just broke his neck. Like, that's what, 900 kilos on someone's neck. Again, a freak accident, but
Yeah, and he created this center. People like yourself go and again, mate, the what they've done with you and all these different people that have kind of come through the doors, and it's called the Get Busy Living, isn't it? The Get Busy Living Center, which I love. One of my favorite quotes from Shawshank Redemption. And why is it called that?
because they want you, the ideal position you're in is you get busy living. So you get too busy to attend by living. So the ideal position is, yeah, you can't go to a physio session or a gym session because you're busy.
'Cause you're busy living your
with
life.
life stuff, yeah.
Wow. Big congrats to them and thank you to them because they have done obviously they do a wonderful job, the physios and the team there.
Oh, they're incredible, yeah.
What is at this point in your life now? What is success to you?
Success, I guess, is just kind of being happy and just enjoying life. Which sounds so cliche and so simple, but it is, because just enjoy the moments. Again, like just enjoy the little moments.
What would it take for you to enjoy? Because I was saying that all of last year, I said, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. Going through my own shit. I said, I just want to be happy. But I didn't know what happy was, and it sounds really silly. And somebody said it to me. My friend said to me, "So what's happy to you? What does it mean being happy?" And I didn't. And I didn't know. And I was like, she said, "Well, how can you be happy if you don't know what happiness is?" I thought, oh God, you're right. And that's a really silly thing, a really so obvious thing. So, but I kept missing it. So, what is happiness? So, how does George Peasgood now become happy?
Again, that is a brilliant question. I would say just by trying to be better, do better, and try and pass on life lessons to other people. Just try and share your journey. Like, if I can help anyone with my journey, improve their life, or teach them something that they understand or learn, then it's a massive fucking win for me. Like, I've made it in life if I can, like, inspire someone to do something or make someone make a good decision in their life. Because, yeah, just like passing on the good joy and, like, it's life.
I think from this podcast alone, you've done that in abundance. You have so many lessons to give, such a wealth of knowledge to give it from, such an position of authority as well, a numerous time world champion, a Paralympic medalist, and you're still,
Thank you very much.
just no, and I mean, and you're still a young man. You still have a lot of life left to live. That's the exciting thing. That's the really exciting thing. And I know you're still quite. I mean, you're a year on from a life changing event. A year on, that's still so new. My punch in my eye, like that was life changing for me. I had to take a very different turn to where I thought I was going. If I have any advice, and it took me a long time to get to where you are. You know, a long time, and that was I was what 2016 or so now, like almost 8 years ago. It's just you can't compare. Like the famous quote, comparison is the thief of joy, and it really is. You can't compare yourself to other people. Like I was comparing myself to this boxer and that boxer and why they got it and I haven't got it. And the only person who's getting pissed off is me. Like the people I was comparing it against, they didn't know I was comparing. Like they weren't losing. I was losing. I was getting angry and getting stressed out. You can't compare yourself to anybody, or you can't even compare yourself to a life that you thought you were going to have. That's the thing. I struggled. I had to stop comparing to other people. I was thinking, oh, my life now is not as good as what I should have had. Haven't got as much money in the bank as I should have had. Well, ultimately, that's life. And like you said earlier, no one's gonna, no matter how much I sulk and complain, no one's gonna come and save me. If I want more money in my bank account, I can't. No one's gonna come and put it in there. I've got to go and do stuff to get it. I've got to live the life and create the life that I want to have. And I said I was going to give you some advice. Ultimately, I'm just repeating the words back to you that you said to me. And I think, mate, you are an incredible human being. You've had already lived such a rich life. You've got so much life left to live. And well, I just think whatever you do moving forwards, if you go back into sport, which I've heard you say you want to do, if you do that, mate, there's no doubt but you're going to be successful because that's what you do. That's who you are. If you do something else, you'll be successful because that's what you do and that's who you are. So, mate, I'm just honestly, I'm so happy you gave up the last hour or so talking to me. Um, and again, kind of selfishly, I did this podcast for me, really, to help my healing, and talking to you has helped my healing as I thought it would. With that being said, mate, is there anything else you want to say, and where can the listeners follow you and find you?
They can follow me and find me on social media and Instagram. I try and be as blunt and honest about my story as possible and show the shit days because, like, it's so freaking annoying when someone says, "Oh, you're an athlete, you must have such a perfect life." Like, no, sometimes being an athlete is so shit. And I just try and be honest and open and just show everyone sometimes that can just be just crap. Um, yeah. I want to
And I think that's really
thank.
important, man. And
Yeah,
not just that. Being an injured athlete, there's seldom been worse places than being inside my head, inside the head of an injured athlete. It's horrible. You can't do what you love to do. You're one of the best in the world at it, and you can't do it. It's a horrible place to be. So I got, and again, all the more power to you for doing that, like showing both sides of the coin. And on the gram, it was always happiness and this and power. It's like that's not life. Like, that's not life. People do have shit times, and it's okay to admit you're having a tough time. It's okay to admit you're on antidepressants. It's okay to admit you're seeing a therapist. It's not about where you're going. It's about the journey. And as long as we all get there in the end, like, who really cares of the vehicle, how we got there? Um, and what's next for you? Is it to get back on the bike and get back in the water and on the road running, or is it something else? Have you thought about that yet? Like the future, what the future holds, and where you're going to be this time next year?
this time next year I would love to be back in sport. Obviously, being an athlete, like that's my goal. My goal was to try and be back on the bike this year. And I was back riding a bike outside before the anniversary of the crash. And that was such a big thing for me. Like,
You did it.
I cried, yeah, I must have cried about
Well,
5 or 6 times. It was crying with
well,
joy or with sadness, and like, I was a mess that day.
emotions,
Yeah,
a cauldron
so
of emotions.
emotions. Yeah. Um,
And that's the thing. Like, so in a year, I mean, a year is, as we get older, a year goes in a blink of an eye. It goes so fast. And I think this time last year, you were in a coma. This time you were in a coma, and the chance of you surviving was 10%. And then 1 year later, you're back.
so yeah, this time last year I think I was technically out the coma, and I
10 days out the coma.
no, I was technically out the coma, and I had moved down to Homerton in London. So I've been transferred down to London to a rehab hospital down there, and yeah, I was technically on the mend.
So this time last year, you were fresh out of a coma, trying to count the seconds in a minute. That's what you were. And then 1 year later, and then within 1 year, you've learned to walk again, learned to talk again, learned to write again, and you've got your driving license back, and you're driving a car, and you're back on a bike. Mate, that's huge. That's huge in just 1 year. So just think of where you're going to be in 1 year's time with that same mentality and that same drive. Then think 5 years' time. Then think 10 years' time. Then think 25 years' time where you're going to be with that same drive and passion. Wow, mate, it's exciting. It's really, really, really exciting.
Yeah, thank you, because I give myself goosebumps because I'm like, holy shit, look what I can achieve. Because, yeah, like anything's possible. Because why not?
Why not? Wow, I think that is the most perfect place to end this podcast. Anything is possible, because shrug your shoulders, why not? Wow. George, thank you so much, sir, for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Can I make a deal with you?
Of course, yeah.
So about 12 months' time, how about we jump back on the podcast, do a George Peasgood part 2, and see where you are and how you've been getting on. And I urge everybody on here to follow George and follow his unbelievable story, and we haven't really spoken too much about how bad things were, and I saw you did an Instagram post saying Instagram won't let me post the pictures of me like after the crash because they're that sickening, they're that horrifying. So yeah, but there are some things on the gram to kind of build a bigger picture. Mate, you're a true inspiration, an absolute miracle, man. So inspiring, so powerful. I know you're going through a tough time, but I wish you could, when you look in the mirror, I wish you could see what I see that I'm looking at right now, looking at the screen. And I wish you could see the person that your family and your friends see, because that person, mate, that person's a true inspiration. So, yeah, never forget that,
Thank you
mate.
very
Okay?
much, yeah. And yes, I will be on in 12 months' time. And I'll also be on where I get that Paralympic gold medal in whatever sport it is. Whatever sport it is.
Get in there! That's a bet. That's a deal. Don't go all big time on me. Don't go all hard. I'm too busy. Don't go big time. That's a deal. Wow, mate. Hey, you've said it here
I'll buy
first.
a pint in a pub if I get a Paralympic medal
again. Lovely, mate. I'm coming for that.
Not if, okay. When I get a Paralympic medal again. Because it is happening. Like, it's happening at some point.
That's the third time I've got tingles.
Why not?
Because why not? The third thing, right, mate. With that being said, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much, mate. And I cannot wait to see you back on the podcast in 12 months to see how far you've got.
Thank you for watching. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey everyone, I hope you all enjoyed that one. That was a deep conversation, and we spoke off air for about 20 minutes after that podcast. I learned more about George. As you can hear, he is still very much in the midst of his adversity. He's a young man that's done so much in his life, and he has so much life left to live. And you know, we talked about it, like, why is he still with us when many others that suffered an injury aren't with us? Like, how come he was able to make it out of the coma and still be here to tell his story when many people that, 9 out of 10 people don't wake up from the coma when they're in it as long as he was, and he's still finding the reason why he survived. He's still very much in the pain, as I'm sure you heard and took away from. But don't bet against this young man with such determination and drive. And George, listening to this, mate, I wanted to thank you again, Percy, from the bottom of my heart. We've been texting now for a number of weeks since we recorded a podcast, and you are a wonderful guy, mate. And I said it on the podcast, I hope one day soon, when you look in the mirror, you see what I see, and you realize how special you are, mate. You really are a walking, talking inspiration, and yeah, you're a wonderful guy. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And I will never bet against you. When you say you're going to do something, you best believe it's going to happen, because you are that guy. So that being said, the Getting Back Up podcast rolls on again next week to another brand new episode. Listen, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen at home listening to this right now, in life, bad things happen. George got run over by a lawnmower as a 2.5-year-old baby. He came off his bike just 100 meters away from the training finish line. Like, shit things happen, and they're going to happen. You are going to get knocked down in life. But when you get knocked down, take heed of George Peasgood and all the other amazing guests, boys and girls, men and women I've had on this podcast, and always get back up. Always get back up. Even if you cannot see the finish line, you can see the next step. You haven't got to see the whole staircase, you just have to see that next step. Keep taking that next step. Always get back up. You are stronger than you realize, and I will see you again next week. Take care.